What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid's down 1.54%, 286 the low, 296 the high, and very low volume. So 19 million shares being traded, 167 is the average. As far as today, we don't really have any macro data points that's moving Lucid or just the broader market. Rather, a couple tariff related comments that has come out over the weekend. So the States and China, they did extend their pause by 90 days. So generally, I think that's a good thing for the broader market. And then secondly, you did have this right here that the US and Europe have a tentative deal. And I think in reality, a lot of people were very hyped up over both of these points. But the negative thing, in my opinion, about just being overly too transparent and sharing too much information is that people just don't believe this, because we have this. So now optimism about a Europe deal, but on Saturday, Trump openly came out and said, hey, you know what? Things aren't really going according to plan with Europe. It's like a 50-50 kind of likelihood of a deal coming. So you have that being said on Saturday and then this being said on Sunday. So still conflicting messages. And even when it comes down to China, you have this extension and you have Trump, I believe it was even again on Saturday, saying that things aren't going well negotiation wise with China. So it's kind of like one story versus the other. So we'll just have to wait and see. But right now the market does not like that. And when it comes to Lucid, especially today with the lower volume, of the 19.3 million shares being traded so far today, about 7.6 is linked to shorts. So at the time of doing this video, shorts are really hammering Lucid, increasing 7.6 million, like I said. 30.86% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 378.3 million shares overall are being shorted. So not necessarily the best day. As far as kind of specific Lucid news, there isn't anything that has come out, no speculative kind of things either. So now we're just waiting for clearly Lucid's upcoming earnings. One thing did come out. So of course, I think Lucid had a very nice push higher because of the whole Uber deal, but I think a lot of people were rather disappointed on why it didn't really continue to move higher. And I think in reality, it wasn't really public and not many people are actually talking about it, but there is several indexes that Lucid is a part of. One is the Russell 1000. So as of technically the 16th, Lucid did get knocked off of it. So potentially that does result in a lot of institutions selling Lucid out. Still, they're part of the Russell 3000 as well as 98% of the broader market. But as far as being included on the Russell 1000, that's the largest 1000 companies in the market, that does mean that institutions will be selling it. So I think that is in reality what killed the momentum and why it did not continue to move higher. And most likely why it did go from that 312 to a low of 282 following days after that big announcement. So it's very odd timing in reality, because this did occur and I believe it came out on the 16th. So July the 16th. So very interesting timing of all of this, and potentially as well, that might be why Mark kind of was talking about institutions really investing in Lucid, because this does mean that institutions will be selling. So it's a rather unfortunate type of thing. Keep in mind though, them doing a reverse stock split will not change this, because you have to be a top 1,000 large companies to be included in this list right here. Of course, doing a reverse stock split doesn't technically change the market cap exactly, just changes the price and also the outstanding shares. So again, a little bit more additional context, and this is exactly why most likely Lucid did lose a lot of that momentum post Uber deal. But aside from that, looking at the options, 870,000 in calls, 156,000 in puts. So kind of low dollar value today, matching with the common stock, but 52% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. Of the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that. For the most part, it looks like 3 to 350. So a nice recovery is still anticipated. Bears, though, they are anticipating for it to be sub 2 to 250. So more of a further breakdown. And a lot of that has to do with the big data points that are coming out, as well as a lot of big companies unveiling the earnings. So clearly bears are anticipating for some of that to cause a significant market pullback. So again, something to keep in mind. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. Based on the level of kind of volume coming from shorts, it is fair to assume that all of this is linked in one way or another to shorts. So again, keep that in mind. But even looking at the secondary market, of the transactions that are listed, all of them are sells. So big money isn't really buying the Lucid dip. Some of this could be linked to that whole kind of exclusion of the Russell 1000. So something to, again, just to be aware of. With it right now at 287, it is exactly on this S1. So on the very strong support. So just keep that as well in mind, as well as 284 and 278 being the following support levels. So if you're wanting to average down, day trade, whatever else, just take note of that. Flip side, 293, 299, and then 302 are going to be the next strong resistance points. Aside from that, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings. No articles really coming out about it. So it is just at the mercy of the broader market, unfortunately. So the big catalyst coming up is August the 5th. That's going to be the earnings. August the 1st, we will also have some insight to the July numbers, as I mentioned in my video yesterday on some upcoming catalysts. And then you have August the 18th, the shareholder meeting. So all big things that could potentially move Lucid. Aside from that, you are seeing some consolidation below the ALMA. One key level to really watch for, though, is that 253. That is that 200-day moving average. So things might get a little bit worse before they get better, but I think in general, as long as Lucid hits a home run earnings, then you'll see institutions hopefully kind of rush back in. But you have to realize that Mark really needs to sell it. Definitely cannot lower that 20,000. If they do lower that, then anticipate that 200 to be hit fairly easily. But nonetheless, I think just we all know that Lucid is a long-term investment. Just I think what has happened recently did get a lot of people very hyped up. And I think just generally Lucid needs to execute. And so, yeah, let me know your viewpoint on that. Because of the recent consolidation, you see stochastic RSI in the neutral category. So it's not really overbought nor oversold. So that could really benefit it with some good data or companies unveiling their earnings. So let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What's your kind of general thoughts on all of that? And what's your viewpoint, for instance, on their exclusion from the Russell 1000? So you have pretty much within a 24-hour period, you had this come out. Also, you had that reverse stock split announcement, and then you also had the Uber deal. So you kind of have a lot of news. And I think generally Lucid does like to mask negative news with positive. So I think that's why they did put out the Uber news when they did, just to mask the whole reverse stock split. But I guess with this now announcement that did come out, do you think that they were also trying to hide this? Because I don't think anyone in reality is talking about this. I haven't seen anyone talking about them getting kicked off the Russell 1000. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Keep in mind, by them getting knocked off the Russell 1000, that does mean that they move to the Russell 2000. So between the 2,000 and 4,000 largest companies in the market. But as far as liquidity, definitely it will be dropping from the Russell 1000. So let me know your viewpoint on all this. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.